again
to an incredible Further and Father multicast. I'm here with an incredible man, Uncle Freezie, Big Freezie. God bless you. Love you to
salute.
life. Man
Amen.
of
I appreciate
God,
it.
military
Appreciate it.
man,
Appreciate it.
all sorts of the man's isn't here.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. We are
The
here
brothers are back in the building.
in the
So I'm going to
building.
reread because the last podcast, for whatever reason, the audio wasn't working on Freezy, but we got Freezy working. I just heard him, so I
Right.
know we are up and running. So I'm
Yes,
going to read
sir.
it again. We always give honor to our ultimate Father, who is our King. Ephesians 6 from the Amplified. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. That is, accept their guidance and discipline as his representatives. For this is right. For obedience teaches wisdom and self-discipline. Honor, esteem, value as precious your father and your mother, and be respectful to them. This is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may be well with you, that you may have a long life on the earth. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger. Do not exasperate them to the point of resentment with demands that are trivial or unreasonable or humiliating or abusive, nor by showing favoritism or indifference to any of them, but bring them up tenderly with loving kindness in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Thank you, Abba. You are our Aleph Bet Aleph, our King and our Father, and we are made in your image. Cover this conversation that you may shine through it, that we may grow in it, and that others may glean and grow also and glorify you as well. Help our fatherhood. Bless us as we do what you call us to do. As two or more gathered, you are in the midst, and we thank you for your presence. In the matchless name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, amen and amen.
All right.
Uncle Freezy.
We
Oh my
here.
goodness. Yes, we are here. The brothers are in the building.
The building.
Yes. Multiple buildings at the same time, but we are here.
But we are here.
Yes, we are here. So, Uncle Freezy, you started what's called the Blorange Tears Network. Before we get to that, you're a dad.
Yes.
And we are further and farther in whole fatherhood at the highest level of respect and honor, because in the world it's not.
Right.
Quite frankly, there is an undermining of masculinity. Matter of
Right.
fact, there's a term called toxic masculinity, which is a misnomer. Your masculinity is never toxic.
Right.
Only your character can be toxic.
Right.
But it's being attached to masculinity, which kind of causes a ripple effect through what's happening in our communities, what's happening in the world, how people, the fool on the show, on the sitcom is always the dad.
Right.
There's a projection, and I think it has a lot to do with control, divide and conquer, and a bunch of other things that we can get into. But you as a dad, I want to honor you as a father because
Appreciate it.
the first time I came on your show as a panelist, I remember you comparing Nick fandom to the type of dad that doesn't show up.
Right.
And that's what made me. If you want to know what caused me to even call on you, it was that segment right there.
Right.
And you also speak glowingly of your son. You said that your son's girlfriend is an incredible athlete as well as
Right.
and you are a leader. You have a leadership mindset because of how you listen. You listen
Right.
intently and interject when necessary, and that is empowerment. So, can we speak to your fatherhood story? Everybody has a fatherhood story. My dad was there. I love my dad. I'm writing a book right now in honor of his struggles with depression, and
Right.
and I my who I am is because of my dad. I don't know if your father was to say I didn't get a chance to ask you. I want this to be organic and
Right.
real and
So
real.
so so so
Yes.
Pops is not here.
Yes.
Pops passed away in 2003.
I'm sorry.
Right, right. And I man, listen, I appreciate that, man. My story with my father starts with a lot of promises that are unfulfilled, right? And
Hmm.
so that's why I compared it to the Knicks, because
Yes.
we always get promised things and we get left holding the bag, even when we know holding the bag means we're going to get an unfulfilled promise. We hold it anyway in the hopes that one day that my pops and the Knicks in comparison will show up and do the thing that we want them to do. And the thing with my pops is I didn't want him to be a superhero. I didn't want him to be a millionaire. I just wanted him to be present,
Mm.
right? So he didn't have to impress me with a whole bunch of stuff. All he had to do was just be around,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's like you know how you see on the savannah when the lion cubs are trying to lay on the big lion,
Yes.
and you know what I'm saying, and the big lion sometimes they get tired of them and just roar like, "Oh, you're driving me crazy." You,
Yeah.
you, you know what I mean? And so what happens is and the thing with the Knicks is we get tossed a lot of promises, they go unfulfilled, and then there's a cycle and
Yes.
generations of unfulfilled promises, which
Yes.
creates this frustration.
Yes.
And so we act out and do things out of frustration when all we wanted in the first place was to have promises fulfilled.
Oh, that's
Right.
powerful.
Right. And,
That's
and same the same
powerful.
thing and same thing for my boys. Like I take a little credit for them
Hmm.
being great men,
Yes.
but they are great men on their own too, because at some point they took the training wheels off
Yes.
and they had to go out in the world and be great men on their own, and they do that. Right. All I did was provide the training wheels for them early on. The support system is what I call it.
Yes.
You know, I supply the support system so that they can come ask me tough questions, come have tough conversations, and I would talk to them in a judgment-free place. And a lot of times I was frustrated because a lot of those conversations were the byproduct of them not listening to the original advice. But instead of judging
Yes.
them, but instead of
Yes.
judging them and throwing them to the wolves,
Yes.
I listened.
Yes.
Hey man, didn't I tell you not to? I could have did that,
Yes.
right? But instead of, I was like, hey man, tell me more. Why is this important?
Yes.
Who are you doing this with? Do they have integrity? You
Yes.
know, all these different type things that lead to good decision making when you're on your own and you're in the moment and you have to make a real lasting decision. Like, you have to, when it comes time for you to make a decision that's going to have lasting consequences, or
Ye-
you're there by yourself, you have to make the right one or live with the consequences.
exactly.
So it's one of those things I taught at an early age. And it's the same thing that I try to talk to Knicks fans about to
Yes.
also is this thing of these young guys. If you make a decision to keep them,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that they may not lead you to your ultimate goal, you have to live with them being here and you not getting to that ultimate goal, right?
Amen.
You
Amen.
have to you have to you have to deal with the consequences of the decisions that you make.
Yes. 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 And how many sons? How many
Two,
sons? Two
two,
sons. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm equal in sons, but I also have two daughters. So I have boy, girl, and so I understand. I understand. I understand. Some with dads, it's the long game.
Right.
It's the long game. We're though we're in an instant gratification society, what God does to slow us down and help us, we become like Neo in the Matrix and everything slows down is when we become dads because we're not going to get the immediate response to what we say and do. We
Right.
use less words than our wives and and the mothers of our children.
Right.
So our words have to be pointed and poignant, and they
Right.
have to be seeds that
Right.
it's buried. Nobody sees a seed,
Right.
right?
Right.
And it's so little that it's taken for granted. But what happens is in the underground where nobody can see it, it cracks open And inside of the seed is a thing called the radical, because it takes radical wisdom, radical faith, radical understanding to raise a child. And that radical becomes what's called the root. And it spreads out underground before anybody sees this, it come to surface. And
Right.
what happens is that our children start experiencing things. And what you've planted in them that keeps them steady through the craziness, you'll see it later on. The fruit doesn't come as soon as you plant the seed. The fruit comes seasons later.
Right.
So we have to play the long game as dads.
Right.
We have to play the long game as dads. It's the same thing with a long-suffering Knicks fan. We're not going to get immediate gratification, though it's tempting. Calling the Nets, give the Nets everything for KD. That's not realistic.
That's not realistic.
That's not realistic. That's
Right.
not realistic. But he's the sole superstar available right now, right? But we cannot be foolish enough to sell everything for a temporary possibility,
Right.
right? So you have to build a structure. So some of those young guys, some of them will be part of the roots. Some of them, not all of them.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
not all of them. Yeah. So you can't uproot what you're doing and start over every season. You have to at least allow for some time for it to develop a core, a trunk, right?
Right.
So we have to develop a trunk and water it and shed light on it till eventually, we could get some good fruit with seed in it. So yes, sir, yes, sir. So as Knicks fans and as dads, we have to be wise. Well, we pray for the wisdom of those who are calling the shots, because to add to your analogy between father and Knicks is that we've had a lot of stepdads. We've
Right.
had a lot of stepdads
Right.
who've come in with shiny cars like Phil Jackson, who is good at one thing, but he wasn't good at being a dad.
Right.
Right. He wasn't good at being. He wasn't. His choices were not based on the strength of what would make a good team in the long run. He tried to be a little cute and
Right.
and pick. Okay, you don't know this, because his whole Zen mentality is you don't know this, I know this, you don't know this,
Right.
which is slightly arrogant.
Right.
And he hit on. I will say he hit on Kristaps. He hit on Kristaps.
Right.
And hit is with quotation marks.
Quotation.
But he missed on Frank.
He missed on Frank.
He missed on Frank.
He missed on Damian Dotson.
He missed on Damian.
He missed
Dotson.
on Clee Anthony early.
He missed on Clee Anthony early.
Yeah, he missed on a lot of kids, man.
Yeah. This regime has given us a better quality of youth. I will say that. A better quality. More curiosity around the league about some of our young guys than in prior regimes. And this is just the beginning. I won't say they've hit on everything. I say that I would not have picked Keels in the
Right.
second round. I would not have. I think there's a wing gap that's still happening, and it's a wing dominant league, and there were still wings available that were available even in the second round. There were some in the first round. Maybe it was necessary to trade that 10th pick, but there were options and opportunities to even move up into the back of the first round and
Right.
get something viable that other people want, even if we weren't going to keep. I would not have picked Keels. That's just my honest assessment of it.
I can. I'm doing a video on that right now. At this very moment, I still have the editing stuff up right now.
Wow.
About how overconfidence leads to missteps.
Yes. Yes. That's biblical wisdom right there.
Right.
It's called pride. It's called pride cometh before fall, right? And
Right.
haughty spirit before destruction. And sometimes your confidence in self, not in the grand scheme that all things are working together for good, But
Right.
confidence in self and your own myopic, limited view and understanding can lead to not only problems for you, but problems for those around you.
Right.
So, what caused you to form Blorange Tears? I always wanted to ask that. What caused you to form Blorange Tears Network?
Well, there is a significant gap between the social media spaces, such as Facebook, the networks that we watch, such as ESPN, Fox, and normal conversations like the one you and I are having right now,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So with that said, knowing that there is a gap in those places,
Hmm.
there's a desperate need for people like you and I to step into those gaps and provide a platform for people that are of reasonable, you know what I'm saying, reasonable thought to come together and share their ideas and opinions on simple stuff,
Yes.
right? On simple, like to me, fatherhood should be a simple thing. That should be a natural thing, right?
Yes.
That should be
Yes.
natural, right?
Yes.
Now, other things may be more complicated, but we won't talk to those because those are not priorities.
Right.
Like being a good man is a priority. Being a good
Yes.
man is a good being a good father is a priority, right?
Yes.
And so in the Knicks space, what I noticed is you watch the Knicks game, TNT will bash the Knicks, the
Yeah.
broadcast will go off, and you're left with nothing except what people gave you. Well, I wanted to say something, and I wanted to hear other people. So I crank up this channel, get started. Shout out to Sim Russell who gave me a place to kind of
Oh, Sim.
know. Yeah, so shout out to Sim Russell from Nothing But Knicks.
Yes.
He
Shout out
he
to
he
Sim.
provided he provided me a place. I never knew that there was such a space.
Right.
And when I got on, I realized that space was cavernous. Like
Yes.
Sim can't do all this stuff by himself. I'm not Sim Russell's competition.
Right.
If anything, if I do good, he does good, and vice versa.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
same with the Knicks fan TV and some
Ye-
others that
Yes.
are in the same space. If
Yes.
if they do good, I do good. And
Exactly.
and if I do good and bring in more people to YouTube to search for Knicks stuff, they come across Knicks fan TV, Nothing But Knicks, and Blorange Tears.
Yes.
And
Yes.
but my thing is as a kid growing up in the New York tri-state area in the 70s and 80s,
Hmm.
I noticed that the talk show circuit was always on. It was always popular. There was always a
Yes.
Donahue, a Montel, an
Yes.
Oprah, and eventually there was like a Jerry Springer, Ricky Lake, Sari Jesse Raphael, Geraldo Rivera,
Yes.
and so when looking at my personality type, I was like, am I the person that can stay disciplined for 60 straight minutes? No, I'm not, because I want to laugh, I want to joke. You know what I'm saying? Somebody says something funny. I don't want to hold it in till later. I want to enjoy the moment right then and have
Yes.
fun with it.
Yes.
Because ultimately I already have a job that I have to be serious. Managing people assets, managing their future. Like putting stuff aside for their retirement, ensuring that they get return on investment, and so it can continue to grow. So when they get to, okay,
That's serious.
that's serious, right?
Yes.
Because if I make a mistake, I get fired,
Yes.
right? But here in this space, I can let loose and listen. I can listen to people share their stories about how they became a fan of Bernard King first, and then a fan of the Knicks,
Like me.
yeah, yeah, and myself, I became a fan. I became a fan of the Harlem Globetrotters first, with
Oh.
Meadowlark Lemon, Curly Neal, going to Madison Square Garden
Mm-hmm.
and thinking like, who's that team over there with the blue and orange uniforms? Are the Globetrotters going to play them? Those are the type of questions you ask when you're a kid,
Yes.
when your mom is holding your hand, like, wow, that's a big picture of number 10. Who is number 10?
Cloud.
Right? And so, you give people the opportunity to get into those spaces and to share their stories and their heartbreak and their pleasure and displeasures.
Yes.
And what happened was it turned into something that could have been Oprah,
Mm-hmm.
but I allowed it to become Jerry Springer. And so with the Jerry Springer aspect of it, and not the
Yes.
raunchiness,
No, 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 no.
Just a format.
Yes.
Everybody come in, everybody talking, people are cutting each other off, people are getting frustrated,
Yes.
and if you're the viewer, if you're one of the 3,000, 4,000 viewers, 5,000 viewers that watch the videos and such, then you're like, oh my goodness, did you hear what such and such say? And then what happens is it turns the people that were once fans of the Knicks and fans of the show into stars of the show. And the
Yes.
people that watch, they want to see what Mr. Jeremy got to say. Like he
Yes.
been sitting there. I know he get ready to say something. You know what I mean? And so now those 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people that watch, when they'll tune in and they'll be like, "Oh, look who just showed up, man, Mr. Jeremy here." Yeah,
J Boogie.
yeah, or Jay
J
Boogie,
Boogie.
right?
Yes.
Or CWC, Charlie Ward
Yes.
cousin.
Yeah.
To see what he had to
Yes.
free Keith and all those guys.
Yes.
And so what people realize after a while, they noticed when I said this thing is not about me, I'm not the star of the show.
Yes.
They noticed episode after episode, they would ask me a question, and I would say stuff like, "No, I'm not answering questions. If you got something to say it." And then they would say it, and it
Yes.
would be freeing to them. It's like they took shackles off,
Yes.
and then they would get in that mode to say more and more stuff, get more and more into it, more and more, and then others would watch them and say, "Hey, I want to do that too."
Yes. Yes. And it becomes great listening because the person's you don't get to the heart of the matter until you get to the person's heart.
Right,
And I noticed when you were talking about your sons, you asked question after question after question because further and further we always say ask quality questions to get to the heart.
right,
So when you allow someone to express their full heart, you kind of break the normal paradigm. You mentioned Knicks Fan TV. I happen to be a mod on there. You mentioned Sim and Nothing But Knicks, and the similitude is that there's that they allow for the fan to speak, but to a degree.
right,
You take it to another level where you allow them to fully express and
right,
allow for collisions to happen. You
right,
allow for the collisions to happen so there's even more organic. It's more of the barbershop without the barber there
right,
to
right.
intercede. And it is a great format. I'm very, very excited for what's going to happen to Blorange Tears because you already see what's happening to Knicks Fan TV. It's all over the place. You already see what's happening to Nothing But Knicks. Is growing and growing and growing.
Right.
Blorange Tears is going to grow because of the fervency of the Knick fandom and
Right.
because you will give them that breath of fresh air that allows them to fully express themselves like you do with your sons.
Right. Right.
It allows for empowerment. And that is what you're offering empowerment. You're
Right.
empowering the fans.
Right. And also, if you remember, there was a time where before barbershops, when people would just come to town and they would congregate in town and have these kind of conversations. Like
Yes.
the farmers, the old country boy would come up out the farm and meet other farmers from across the county, and they would just talk about stuff like what seeds they were using, what equipment they were using.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? These new things like how to cure ham. They cure house. How to
Yeah.
keep snakes and owls out of there. How to keep the field mice out. You,
Yeah.
you know all types of things that would be their place, and they would argue over it. No man, your ham don't taste better than mine, and such, right?
Yeah.
And so as time went on, we no longer we no longer cured our own ham,
Yes.
right, and cured our own meats and farmed and tilled our own fields. We got to a point where we started going to grocery stores and working in factories and stuff and getting haircuts and stuff. And
Yes.
now the women notice they congregate. They'll be in the grocery store or the hair salon and they'll get their circles and talk. And the men will be in the barbershop and that'll be their place. The
Yes.
former town hall turned barbershop. And
Yes.
now it's this YouTube space from the barbershop. You know what I'm saying? Like for
Yes.
instance, people from the barbershop come to our channels And
Yes.
though they're talking in barbershops now, I go in barbershops and you see Blorange Tears playing
Yeah.
and nothing but Knicks playing in barbershops,
Yes.
not taking their place, but adding along to the conversation.
Exactly. Exactly. The this when used wisely, social media can enhance instead of degrade.
Right.
And that's what's being done when you empower others to speak their, and people don't hear themselves until it comes completely out, and it allows for correction, it allows for direction, it allows for instruction, it allows for growth. It is I was just doing an interview with a gentleman, and he said we grow where there is challenge. That's
Right.
where we grow. We
Right.
grow where there is challenge.
Right.
So you allow for the challenges to happen. Now let's talk even more granular about the Knicks. Let's go even a little deeper. You know, this though we're not going to talk about the music, art, recreation, and technology today. We're going to go sports, and we're going to go Knicks specifically, or
Right.
maybe even a little Giants eventually, maybe
Right.
given the time we have. But let's talk about the Knicks. Let's talk about the Knicks. The Knicks are in a unique position right now where growth is happening gradually, but there is an urgency. I told you what's going on with me medically. So to do what I'm called to do, there's an urgency to do it.
Right.
So there's an urgency because of the paradigm of Nick fandom and the city where we represent, the people in it, the mindset of the people in it, the mindset of the owner, and gradual, though it be necessary, there's still the impatience that we have to overcome when it comes to what's happening. And the longer the Donovan Mitchell trade takes place, the more anxious. When I was on the show with you, the other you were through the other
Yeah,
last
I'm
year.
still in that place.
Yeah.
I'm still exacerbated. I'm still in this exhaustion
Yes.
of negotiation
Yes.
because I think reasonable minds can negotiate in a day, one day,
Depending on what they're willing to give up.
depending on what they're willing to give up. Exactly.
Yes.
So you and I talked about me coming on the show, and I
Yes.
feel like we're reasonable minds, right?
Yes.
Our conflict was not one of an adversarial relationship. It was just a scheduling conflict,
Yes.
right? But you and I talked through it, and what 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
If that.
done,
If that. If that.
done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so my thing is with the Donovan Mitchell thing is I don't believe it's about Donovan Mitchell.
No, not at all.
I don't believe it's about those draft picks, and I don't believe it's about those kids. I think it's about other stuff that go into it that the
Other
common
parties.
fan, yeah, the common fans don't get stuff like when Utah loses their star, their ticket sales are going to go down,
Yes. And they have the All-Star game this year.
and they have the All Star game this year,
Yeah.
right? So there are other things that come into play. Does Utah want to go to the All Star game without an All Star? And if they do, what promise do they make to their fans? Like what can they point to? What kind of seeds can they point to that are about to be put in the ground that are going to grow? That's going to promise the Utah fans the reward that they gave away is going to be greater with these assets that they've accumulated.
Right.
Like you can give away your harvest, man. It happens. It
Yeah.
happens all the time.
All the time.
But is your replacement for it going to be just as good or better?
Right.
That is
Right.
what Utah is struggling with, in my opinion.
Right. We can't be Ditka. We
Right.
can't. We can't be Ditka. Remember what Ditka did for Herschel?
R-
He traded his whole. He traded everything.
Everything,
Everything. Right.
everything, and come to find out what he traded for he was good, but he just wasn't good for them.
Yes, exactly,
Right. He just
exactly,
wasn't good for them. It's one of those deals you just got to be careful for, careful with what you're trading away your stuff for.
exactly, exactly.
That's all I think it is. It's New York. New York is the highest valued franchise in the NBA by $200 million over
Yes,
the Golden State Warriors. Right.
yes,
If you add Donovan Mitchell to that, that value skyrockets.
yes, it does.
Right. Now, the Utah Jazz, at the time that I saw it, and it may be a different number, I can't remember if they were 17th or 21st. I'm just going to say 17th.
Yes,
They're in Salt Lake City, Utah. They trade away their star. Their value, the value of their franchise, go from 17th, in my opinion, to the mid 20s.
yes, at
Because
least.
who wants to go to a Utah Jazz game and not see a star?
Right. Though their fans be loyal, I will say that going all the way back to Layden, their fans do show up.
All the way
Now,
to Adrian Dantley, all the way back
yes,
to Adrian Dantley,
yes, yes.
Daryl Griffith, and all those
Daryl Griffith,
guys,
yep,
all
yep,
those guys before Stockton, before
yes,
Malone,
yes.
they showed up.
They showed
And
up.
the ironic thing is the fans in New Orleans never showed up. They had a franchise. It was called the New
Yes,
Orleans Jazz,
they went. That's why it went to Utah.
and they moved and went to Utah. Right,
Yep.
right, right.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So my point that I'm getting at is I'm frustrated with the Donovan Mitchell deal because it's beyond basketball. It's about
Yes.
economics.
Also, it's the two players. You ever see those court dramas where the prosecutor's never lost a case and he's going up against the new hotshot lawyer and he
Right,
doesn't want to lose the case?
right,
Danny Ainge has never lost a case.
right.
And he's dealing yes
And the new hotshot lawyer is trying to make a name for herself.
exactly,
Right,
exactly,
right,
exactly. And they that's where the bumping heads they don't want to be perceived weak because that will affect not the value of each franchise but the potentiality of each franchise. If they lose their honor, that's our first principle in further and fathering.
right,
If they lose their honor, they open themselves up to be like Minnesota is viewed.
right,
Because to be quite frank, the Minnesota deal had Ainge waited,
right.
he could have gotten the Knicks deal done and still had that
And still did the Timberwolves
still
deal.
got
Yeah,
that done. But
right.
because he's so used to that Boston pride
Having
and
his way.
yeah, and having his way and never losing a case, he thought that he could do that, leverage Miami against New York, which made no sense. I as much as business is business, I don't see Riley and Ainge coming together for on an agreement there,
Right,
especially with KD available.
right, right.
Especially with
And
KD.
Danny Ainge and Pat Riley don't like each other. Back to the Lakers Celtics days.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly. So I honestly didn't see that deal getting done. It was just being used for leverage
right,
on Ainge's part. And he wanted to be able to still trade to the Knicks and fly a bird to use his teammate as a pun toward Riley,
right,
and he I think he assumed a lot,
right,
and this is taking longer than he expected, which is why they made the announcement. Though they said, "Oh, we're not trading Gobert, and we're not trading Donovan Mitchell," they immediately traded Gobert.
right,
Then they announced, it's Utah announced that
right,
they have made Mitchell available. So now the ball is in their court,
right, right,
and we have a modicum of leverage.
right.
So the waiting game kind of benefits us, though it be frustrating.
Yeah, right. And so that is where my frustration is. Like
Yes.
for instance, I heard a guy that's a St. John alum tell me the other day about his St. John's pride and some of the people he met while he did his
Yes.
thing, right?
Yes.
And so when I speak when I speak to that St. John alum, I spoke to him about the glory days of St. John's Redmond basketball. And I'm talking about that era then, because I know
Yes.
they're what the Red Storm now or the
Red Star. I was there. I gave it away. I'm sorry.
yeah yeah
I was there
right
when when it changed. I was there when it changed from Red Men to Red Storm. I
right
was there when the votes were going in order to change it from Red Men to Red Storm.
right.
And yes, yes,
But there was a glory day though,
yes.
of St. John's basketball in the Big East, the Chris Mullen,
Mullen,
Walter Berry
Barry.
era.
Yes.
Yeah, so there was but now, no matter who you bring back to coach the St. John's Redmen,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Mike Jarvis, Chris Mullen,
Mm-hmm.
whoever it is that comes in, they can't restore the raw, so to speak, of what
Yes.
St. John's basketball used to be,
Yes.
right? And it's not
Yes.
because there's a lack of talent, because New York City has a lot of quality high school talent, right?
Yes. Yes.
But it's the combination of a lot of things that
Mm-hmm.
prevents them from being that,
Yes.
right? And so if you're frustrated with a St. John's not being able to get back to at least the Ron Artest, Eric Barkley days,
Yes.
LeVar
Yes.
Postel days, if you can't even,
Yes.
if you can't even get back to that, then imagine your frustration with today's St. John's, right?
Yes.
Especially when you see Seton Hall showing up out of the blue, just
Yeah.
randomly.
I don't know what the difficult. It comes down to recruiting,
Right.
as opposed to the NBA, where scouting is recruiting. Um, Recruiting is so important with St. John's, and it being a Jesuit school, the but so is Seton Hall,
Seton Hall, right.
so is
What
Villanova,
about Providence?
Providence.
Right.
Yes. So
I mean, Providence, the name speak for itself.
it does. It does.
Right.
It
Right.
does. It does. So we at St. John's, it has to get better at recruiting. I remember when Felipe Lopez, Zendon Hamilton, and those guys were recruited.
Right.
A matter of fact, they did a big ESPN thing at Alumni Hall at the time, now Lou Carnesecca Hall. And I remember catching a T-shirt from McDonald's All-American. I was excited, and that didn't become what it could have been.
Right.
And so at the time, I forget who our coach was. I always remember Ron, because I always used to talk Ron Rutledge. He was assistant coach through so many eras. I used to sit
Right.
down and talk to Ron Rutledge. But coaching was an issue at the time, and also their roles. And I think the same thing we're having with the Knicks. I think that we don't have as big a talent gap as we had before.
Right.
But when we were dealing with the kids prior, with the Franks and the what's the young man from
The Knoxes.
Trier, the Knoxes and the
Yeah.
Triers.
The Luke
that-
Cornett's, the Isaiah Hicks,
Oh my
the
goodness!
Kuzmingises, the
Oh,
Willie
my
Hernandez Gomez's.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
There was a lack of skill and athleticism.
Right.
Point blank, there was a lack of skill and athleticism that this group has more of. It has more of it, and the potential is a little higher of this group. However, there is the need for quality veterans. What we lacked last year was quality
Right.
in our veterans. We had veterans, but we didn't have the quality of veterans.
Right. And some of those veterans were miscast.
Oh, that also is a problem that needs to be overcome by the coaching staff. You have to understand, it wasn't just the head coach that when we had that good season 2 seasons ago. Right. You also had quality assistant coaching specifically geared toward big men and specifically geared toward guards, which is why a guard like Peyton, though less talented than most, was able to be pseudo efficient,
Efficient.
right?
Right.
Right, and allowed for Randall to have success because it was basically get out of the way.
Right.
It
Right.
was basically most, if I remember, most of Peyton's assists were to Randall. So
Right.
so he knew what to do. You bring up the point of last year's guards being the worst performing. I won't say the worst talented, but the worst performing set of guards.
You have never in your life seen a group of guards perform this poorly as a Knicks
Yes,
fan. You
yes,
have, think about this. Have you seen any of those guards in that backcourt go for 40, go for 50?
no,
Evan Fournier went for 30 a couple times, I believe.
I think so. And
But
so,
he didn't put on a performance.
no,
He wasn't Isaiah Thomas esque
no.
or Dr. J esque.
Oh, that's my dude.
And in most nights you were wondering if he was even going to show up.
Right.
So even the nights that he showed up, it was more of a relief
Yes.
than anticipation.
I think it was also a culture shock.
Right? Yep.
He we brought him in based on what we saw in Orlando. We didn't bring him in based on what we saw in Boston or in Kansas City or OKC.
Right.
OKC, not Kansas City. Oklahoma City, not Kansas City. But we brought him in based on what we saw in Orlando. But Orlando, it's similar to some of those old Duke teams where the shooter got credit, but the strength of the team was a multiplicity of athletic wings. Like Leitner and Hurley would get a lot of credit, but it was the two Hills
Right.
that caused the 5-second rule which was created for Duke
Right.
to cause their defense to thrive and allow
Right,
them
and
to
like Thomas Hill, Grant Hill, Brian
Yes.
Davis, Antonio
Yes.
Lang,
Yes.
Robert Brickey, all of those
Yes.
guys, they
Yes.
were
All
so complimentary
and
that
long.
yes, they were so complimentary to Bobby Hurley, who I grew up with,
Yes.
and Christian Leitner, that people focus so much on Christian Leitner that
Yes.
Grant Hill, Robert Brickey, Antonio Lang, Thomas Hill, Brian Davis could do whatever they wanted to do.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the funny part to it is while you looked at the pristine image of Bobby Hurley, who was not pristine, by the way. He's from Jersey City. He's
Right. Exactly.
a
He
grimy
is
Irish kid. His
he
pops
is
is a
dad and his brother.
yep.
Tough
Grimy
guys.
Irish, tough guy. And Christian Leitner, from the Rust Belt, family work, factory jobs. Mom was a teacher,
Yes.
grinded. But he looked the part. You remember
Yes.
Christian Leitner looked like the kid from those '80s movies, like The Breakfast Club,
Yes.
Pretty in Pink,
Yes.
Less Than Zero. He looked like the guys from that, and those that like basketball hated that. And while they kept their eyes on Christian Leitner,
Yes.
those guys that you mentioned, Thomas Hill, Grant Hill, Brian Davis, Robert Brickey, Antonio Lang, those guys could do their jobs. And quite frankly, I think that's what the Knicks are missing today.
Yes.
Those type of guys, those type of
Yes.
athletic wing players
Yes.
that can beat somebody in a foot race to a loose ball and go down to the other end and dunk, Dr. J style.
Yes. Yes.
And if you notice, R.J. Barrett led the team in fast break points, and he's probably the least athletic dude in our starting five.
But he's actually semi-athletic. He's semi-athletic. He's not non-athletic. I would say more Fournier is more non-athletic. There will be times.
Fournier is kind of Fournier is just not a leaper. He's
Yeah,
not a
that's what I
leaper,
mean.
and then plus he's not ultra explosive.
Right.
But he is wiggly. He is dexterous.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He has dexterity. He has
Yeah,
dexterity.
yeah.
He has dexterity.
He has agility, but not Dr. J agility and
Yes.
explosiveness.
Yes.
Right. I would compare him to how. Oh, I got one for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um,
Oh, we need to do this again, man. I'm
you-
loving
eh,
this.
Hey, do you remember a shooting guard from St. John's named Malik Sealy?
Yes, I do. God rest.
God,
Oh my
God bless
God
the
bless
dead.
God bless him. God bless him.
He was not the most explode. He was not Stacey Augman.
But he was
Stacey
nice.
Augman was the same. It was about the same height and everything, same measurables.
Yeah.
But Malik Sealy was not the explosive athlete Stacey Augman was.
He semi.
But right, right. That's the point I'm getting to.
Just like RJ.
He was athletic, right?
Yeah.
But then when you start ranking athletes, you're talking about is Vince Carter as
Woo.
athletic as Michael Jordan? Hmm.
Very close.
Is Dr. J as athletic as Vince Carter?
Very close. Well, the ABA, yes.
Yeah, and like is Michael Jordan as athletic as David Thompson? Probably not. But when you talk about the levels of athleticism, there are tiers to it. And so when I speak to RJ and Evan Fournier, those guys are pretty decent athletes. I'll tell you who wasn't an athlete, Larry
Who?
Bird.
No, but he had functional athleticism.
Yeah, he had
He had
functional
functional.
athlete.
He had dexterity, and he knew, and his timing. He had great
Right.
timing as well.
Right. He was, and Larry Bird was like, and just to give people context of Evan Fournier, Evan Fournier is probably 2 times, 3 times more athletic than Larry Bird. But
Yeah.
Larry Bird had this thing called relocation skills, the same thing Klay Thompson has. Right?
Yes.
You're like,
Yes.
why is this dude always open? He can't outrun a turtle, but he's always open.
Knows where to be.
Right? Those guys, because they have high basketball IQs, right?
It's
Evan
that
Fournier is
receiver that
pretty
knows the gaps. It's that receiver that knows the gaps.
Right,
That
right.
knows where to be.
Your Wayne Krebets.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, Wes Welkers. You're like,
Yes.
Wes,
Yes.
you're thinking like I could outrun Wes Welker right now with church shoes on. But every 3 years he get like a super contract from some team.
Yes.
And so I brought up Malik Sealy because
That's my dude.
just because you're not the most athletic compared to ultra athletes
Right.
does not mean you can't dominate the game with the certain
Right.
skills that you already have, that you possess.
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
what I'm saying. That's why I brought up the R.J. Barrett leading the league and leading the Knicks in fast break points, though he was not the most athletic.
But he was the most aggressive.
Yes.
He was quick. He was strong enough, did not fear the contact enough to go ahead and go shoot that layup. Sometimes, especially the year before when we went to the playoffs, we missed so many, not just bunnies. I mean, we probably were between R.J. Burks, what's the young gentleman who's on Dallas now? Great 3-point shooter, good defender.
Reggie Bullock. Reggie Bullock.
Bullock.
Right.
For would miss layups. Oh my goodness. They would miss a lot of layups. And
Right.
that functional athleticism, RJ has it. I will say
Right.
that. RJ
Right.
has it.
Right.
And he makes more than he misses.
But but is he LeBron James? No.
No.
No. But is he Larry Bird? No.
No.
No. He's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. Like when I compare the wing players
Yes.
of Duke, like we mentioned, like we referenced,
Yes.
Duke had outstanding athletes that wanted to get out and run. Right?
Right.
But at the same time, Bobby Hurley had to deal with a Christian Laettner who
Yes.
wanted the ball every possession, and deservedly so because he was a college player of the year twice, I believe, 2 times
Yes.
NCAA player of the year, right? Deservedly so, and he was clutch,
Right.
right? So he wanted the ball, man, give it to him.
Exactly.
But at the same time, you also had dudes that filled in the gaps at a high level, so much so that they all got drafted. And so I think that may be what the Knicks are missing. The 6'8" athlete guy.
But to speak to that, though, and God bless Sandra and Rick. They just had their anniversary yesterday. Sandra and Rick Brunson, God bless them. They had their anniversary yesterday.
Congratulations to them too. by the way.
Congratulations to the Brunsons, the Davises. Shout out to Marshall, her big brother.
Right.
The Brunson and Obi, and for a period of time, but we're one of the few times where we could say that a Knicks team has two NCAA Players of the Year on the team at the same time. So that's an uptick in talent.
Right. It's
That's
rare.
a
It's rare that any NBA team can
yeah,
say that.
yes,
Right. Let alone the Knicks. You're just by saying the Knicks having it
yeah,
makes you think it's even more rare, right?
very rare,
Right.
very rare. Brunson and Obi, and our brother Rose. Our brother Rose was though injured, has the moxie of a former MVP. We
Right.
so we're not bereft of talent. We have talent on the Knicks,
Right.
which is rare. Which is why we're trying. Why Danny thinks he can fleece us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to give kudos to Leon Rose for holding pat and not rushing
Right.
at the same time, because he has not given away any information as to the overall plan is kind of developing before our eyes. I think had Miles not gotten in done the dumb stuff he's doing in his family, had he not allowed the demons to control his attitude behind closed doors, abusing his wife and children, quote unquote,
Right.
allegedly,
Allegedly. Right.
allegedly,
Right.
had none of that happened, I believe he was in our plans.
I think so also.
I think he was in our plans. It kind of also kind of threw things off of the plan
And
because
and
we
that
are
brother don't even come from that type of background. Did you
no
did you did you hear how his parents used to speak about him when he was at
Ye-
Michigan State?
yes,
The reason why he stayed in an extra year was not because his draft status.
he had high draft status.
Yeah, it was because that he just liked being in college,
Yes,
right? And his parents had to buy him a car, and he told his mom, like, "Mom, I'm not ready for a car yet. I'm not ready for all this responsibility." Right?
right.
That's what he told his mom. There's a story
Yes,
up in there about, and then all of a sudden he gets millions of dollars, and he
love of
becomes
money.
something other than what
What
he
he
was
was raised to.
groomed to be. Yep.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
so, and some would say, well, he was going to be that person when he took the training wheels off anyway. I would like
I
to
did.
think that there was a chance that he would have been something else.
Yes, I believe so. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think environment. Um, I think the wisdom of, you see, he left home, but now who's speaking into him as an adult? Because guess what? A
Right.
pastor needs pastors who speak into him, bishops who speak into him.
Right. Right. Right.
A psychotherapist needs a psychotherapist. A teacher, and I've done that before, needs
Right.
professional development and other teachers speaking into them.
Right. Right.
He sometimes, because of the money, people think they've outgrown wisdom. You need it more. The more you have, the more you need.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, I,
So
I, I, I agree with you there. And so I speak to that as a man that made a lot of mistakes in my life. And the fortunate part of my life and where I am is God blessed me with a few minutes to correct some of those situations before they got out of hand.
yes,
You,
exactly.
you know what I mean? Like it,
I
like
know
there, there
exactly what you
there
mean.
there were times that I was legit on the verge of doing something, and there was just like a gap in time that was provided to me so that I can rethink it, or I
Exactly.
did it, or I did something egregious, and then there was a say a few hours in there, maybe a couple of days, where I could go back and correct it,
Yes.
right? And there are some that walk among us, and some
Yes.
that are locked up, and some that are dead, that did the same things that I did, that wasn't afforded that opportunity,
Yep.
right? And they
Yeah,
paid
exactly.
for it in the long game. So
There, but
so I
for
feel
the
like I'm
grace of
blessed
God.
yeah, through the grace of God, man, I'm blessed and fortunate.
Yep. 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 Same here. Same here. Same
Right.
here.
Right. Oh,
Same
and,
here.
and like with me, I have a medical condition, man. I have multiple medical conditions, right? multiple,
Same here.
right? And so I'm not the healthiest, but I'm working on it,
Same
right?
here.
Right, just trying
Yeah.
to eat right, trying to stay in shape, or get in shape,
Yep.
and that's why people like part of the reason why people like Blorange Tears is that they know I'm human. They know
Yes.
I'm not perfect.
Practical.
Um,
Yes.
Like I'll just come on the screen and I'll be eating sliced cucumbers, and they'll laugh like, "Man, what you doing? Big as you are, you eating sliced cucumbers?" And I'll just laugh and say, "Yeah, I've been eating cheeseburgers for so long,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That I got to start doing the right thing, right? Get rid of these
Exactly.
cheeseburgers, man, and eat some cucumbers, man, or put down those potato chips and eat air pop popcorn
Yes.
with paprika and red chili flake or something on it, as opposed to loaded down with salt
With
and butter."
salt. Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
just before I got on with you, I just had a big old salad, and it's funny. I like everything tomatoes make, but I don't put tomatoes in my salad and eat them real raw. Like
Me either.
I like all the sauces that tomatoes make,
Right.
but I don't eat. So what I do is I substitute watermelon for tomatoes,
Right.
right?
Oh yeah. I sub peaches.
Yeah, yeah. And I like sweet stuff, so I put Fuji apples in
Right.
my. I put craisins and raisins and grapes and then I put onion Vidalia, and that thing tastes so good.
The
I was like,
combination of them together.
oh my
Oh
god,
man. Yeah, the combination of them together is
yes,
what makes. And I even go as far as I don't even do lettuce anymore. I do the baby spinach.
yes,
I made the mistake of doing, and I say I'm kidding about making a mistake, but I made the
yeah.
mistake. I was at what do you call those? Like an Applebee's type restaurant, like
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm still trying to think of
Ben, not Bennigan's, something
one
like
something
that.
like that though.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
Ruby Tuesday is where
Ruby
where,
too.
where I was.
Yes, yes, I
So,
remember
so,
that
so
one.
I was at a Ruby Tuesday, and they were out of the iceberg lettuce. And I
Oh,
stared at the baby spinach, and I stared at the baby spinach, and I stared at the baby spinach, man. And I was like, "Hey, y'all got?" And she was like, "Yeah, he chopping it up in the back here." I'm like, "Let me try it." So I tried it,
you
and I put
surprised.
some on the plate, and surprise! And I've never gone back, bro. I've never gone back to iceberg lettuce. I mean, I'll try it every now and then, but I'm talking about in terms of preference.
Right.
My preference is baby spinch, the
Mine
Vidalia
is romaine.
onions.
Mine
Yeah,
is the romaine.
yeah,
Mine is the
yeah,
romaine. I like the romaine lettuce.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
like the romaine lettuce. And my wife and I, we're in a community garden here in Roosevelt, right
Okay.
next to Centennial Park. You know, Dr. J, right,
Right.
right next to Centennial Park in Roosevelt,
Okay.
and we grew string beans. Normally we do the bush beans, which produces a large harvest of string beans. But
Right.
this is the
Right.
first time we tried the vine. We put poles up, and it
Right.
kept growing. That Jack and the Beanstalk stuff is real. It
It's
just
real.
kept going and kept going, and
Right. Right.
produced a lot of string beans. We tomatoes. We did iceberg lettuce.
Right.
We did another type of lettuce that was really soft and nice. It wasn't the I forgot the butter lettuce.
Oh yeah, I heard. I heard.
Because my folks are West Indian. And
West Indian where? What West
my
Indian?
father's from Barbados. My mother's from Jamaica. My mother passed, but my mother's from Jamaica. My father's from
Really?
Barbados. Yes.
Really?
And yeah.
So you're first generation, not first generation, second generation
West. Yes.
West Indian
Yes.
in New York.
Yes. Oh, that's. You see Eastern Parkway on Labor
I was gonna
Day.
say,
That's
you're
a
not
good part of
alone.
New York.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not the only one. I'm just throwing it out there just in case
You
you were
too?
not aware. No, not me. My so my family and it's how I got my last name. So my last name is Free,
Oh,
right? And so my coworkers and them used to call it like, "Hey, Big Free or Big Freezie or Freezie or something." And so that's where the name comes from, like in
oh,
workspaces, right?
yes.
And but my family is from the Carolinas. My mom's family is from the Carolinas,
My wife's.
South Carolina. My pops' family is from South Carolina. Different places in South Carolina, though.
Right.
Excuse me, but my mom's family came directly out of slavery, like African descent, straight from,
Yes.
and they don't know their history, right? All they know is maybe 3 or 4 generations back.
Right.
And that's the case with a lot of us. We
Yes.
don't know our family tree, and we should,
Right.
because the
Yes.
detachment from your family.
Hmm.
When you detach from your family, when you detach with your roots, your
Yes.
family is bound to rot, bro. That's just all. It's as simple as that. If it,
Now, not to go into a deep discussion, but have you ever heard of free the slave? What's the name of it? It's in Nigeria now, and if you look at an old 1740 something map of Nigeria,
right?
you'll see an area that's called the Kingdom of Judah, and that's
Okay.
where most of the slaves were taken from.
I didn't know
Long
that.
story. Well, yeah. We'll talk about that because we can. We can. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
of these because the wife has been hitting me up about dinner suggestions,
Okay. Okay.
no, I know we can't open that because if we
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
that, man, we'll be here
That's
till
a
eleven
low
thirty.
another hour.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, but you're right. You're right. There. I love how you connect the past to what you're doing because that gives it root and foundation. You know,
Right.
this stuff comes from somewhere. You see, sometimes we're too future focused, and we need to have the. I always say to have true insight, you need hindsight and foresight. God gives us
Right.
two eyes, right? But so
Right.
so the eyes of wisdom are quality hindsight. What worked in the past?
Right.
Quality foresight. Where are things actually going? Now I can have insightful decision today. And
Right.
you're good at that, Freezy. You're good at that.
Right. And the reason why I'm good at it is because I try to practice it every day. So it's like the future and the past and in the moment thing. Like I'm always thinking, like, what would my say great 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 grandfather say if he could see me today? Like
Yes.
5 generations ago, if the generations 5 years ago, if they could see me, would they be proud of the man that I am right now? Am I representing them the way they want to be represented? Right?
That's
And the
honor.
yeah, and in the future, the people that are future, they see me coming towards them, right? The future,
Yes.
they see me. Like the people in the past, they see my back. Go on out there, young man, represent us. In the
Yes.
future, they see me coming, for they see my face, they see the front of me, they see me coming, and
Yes.
they're like, okay, what is this? I might, you know what I'm saying? This looks like a certain thing. But the people that are in the present, that are all around me, in the moment with me, they know who I am. They know I'm representing both the future
Yes.
and the past. And some people, it might be too much for them.
You know what
But
it
I don't
is?
ask. But I don't ask them to lead the way. If because if it makes you, if it makes you nervous, like if this is too much, just come along for the ride. You don't have to drive.
Yes. Yes. Your last name is free.
Right.
You are free.
Right.
You see, because of how driven entertainment is, people become prisoners of the moment
Right.
and cannot have a complete disconnect of the past and complete blind. See, they think it's an incline going up all the time. Some things are depreciating and they don't see it,
Right.
right? So you have
Right.
to take all that into consideration to lead and live wisely and to live free like your last name.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right.
Yes.
That's how that's how we got my last name. My great great uh anyway, one of my ancestors coming out of slavery, he was a runaway slave. He ran away all the time. Mr. Thompson, our slave owner, right, kept telling Jim, and Jim, if you run away, I'm gonna have to punish you. I'm gonna have to beat you in front of your family. And he would run away, and they would take him and tie him to the tree, pull all of our family out. They'll snatch everybody out their little house and bring around the beating tree, have him tied to the tree, and they would beat him in front of the family. And all the babies would be crying, the women would be crying, the men would be looking like, Jim, we told you not to run. And you know what Jim would be thinking while he getting beat? If they give me one sliver, if they bat their eyelash, I'm gone.
Go on. Yep, I'm
Right?
free.
Yeah, and so when emancipation came, a lot of my family members adopted the last name Thompson, the slave owner last name,
Mm-hmm.
right? But Jim, he always wanted to breathe free. They was like, "Hey, boy, show me your paperwork." Then he's showing the paperwork, and this is before cops and all that stuff. This is before the police. This is
Yes.
just white men riding up and down the road
Yes.
on horses and stuff.
Yes.
And so they would be like, "Yo, what's your surname?" He was like, "My name is Jim, sir." And like, "No, not Jim, not sir," because back
Yeah.
then, to white people you had to say sir and ma'am,
Yes.
right? And so he was like, "What's your last name?" He was like, "Free. I'm free." And they was like,
Hallelujah.
"Jim Free?" He's like, "Jim is free. Jim Free." That's how he talked, Jim
Yeah.
Free, and that was his name.
Wow.
And since he wasn't the most ethical person. Jim was a drinker,
Yeah.
right, and a womanizer.
Yes.
So our last name kind of spread kind of fast, depending on how many women he met. Like he
Yes.
would marry, have 20 women, meet another woman would walk, he just leave. Go with her, have more kids. And I'm not saying this. What I'm saying is uh, hey, Pastor J,
It's
listen.
th- that's the
Nobody's
truth.
perfect, bro. Nobody's family is perfect, man.
My great my my great grandfather had 36 children.
Wow.
In
Wow.
Jamaica,
Right.
yeah, it was my grandfather's grandfather. So in Jamaica, people know not to like Browns. There are a lot of Browns,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
You hear there are a lot of Browns.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we know
So
the
you got to be
past.
careful if that girl named Brown and y'all dating. You like, hold on, you might be my cousin.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, you have to be understanding of what happened in the past, not just what happened, why it happened.
Right. Right. And the
And
same with our and the same with our Knicks.
yes, yes,
The same with
yes.
our Knicks. Be
A
careful not to
repeat.
be careful not to repeat the same mistakes. And the Knicks and to be honest with you, we do it often.
Yes.
But like what we say is man, this young core. This is the first time we actually had a young core with talent. But that's not what the previous regime said when they had Frank Ntilikina, Kevin Knox, and all those guys.
Well, they
They
weren't
pointed to the
talented.
regime before them, and the regime before them of Kristaps Porzingis and Tim Hardaway Jr.
Oh,
and
that was.
and and Willie Hernan Gomez and Kuzmingas and all that. They were like, "This is the best young core we ever had," right?
Yeah.
But
So we've
but
heard
the
it
Amon
before.
but the Amon Shumpert young core didn't think that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They did with Josh Harrelson, Amon Shumpert, and all those guys. And before Shumpert, yeah, I mean you can go on and on. You can trace it all the way back to Clyde Frazier. The Knicks
Exactly.
always had a young core, always. Even
Yes.
Pat Ewan,
Yes.
Gerald
Mark
Wilkins,
Jackson.
Johnny Newman, Kenny Skywalker, Mark Jackson, Rod Strickland, all those guys. That was a young core.
That was a good young core. That
That
one
was,
was. That one was
but it was
good.
a young core, right? It was a young
Yes.
core,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And all the way even before Pat, when you talk about Rory Sparrow, Trent Tucker,
Well,
um, um,
that one wasn't a good.
Rory Sparrow, Trent Tucker, Darryl Walker, Ken the
Yeah.
Animal Bannister.
Oh
All
my
of that.
god.
That was a
That's
young core.
that's when
And it,
Bernard was playing by himself.
right. And then even before them, it was the Kurt Rambis. People forget that the Knicks
Oh
drafted
no
Kurt
offense.
Rambis.
Yeah.
People forget
Yes,
about
that's
Kurt
true.
Rambis, Mike
Yes.
Mike Woodson, the ex
Oh
coach Mike
yes.
Woodson,
Yes.
Bill
Indiana.
Cartwright,
Yeah.
Michael Ray Richardson. All
Yeah.
of them guys, that was a young core as well.
Yes.
And so Knicks fans will say, "Man, we never had a young core," and I'll be like, "Hey, man, y'all lying. Either you
Yeah. Yeah.
lying or you don't know
Just
your
it's
history."
ignorance. It's not that they're lying.
Right,
Like you are free and you
right,
have an understanding of the past and where things are going.
right,
You're not limited to now, so you can reference
right,
the past,
right,
right? And
right,
that comes from study, analysis, and remembering,
right,
right?
right,
And understanding the nuances of what happened back then, what worked and what didn't work, and what's
right,
happening now. Now we need wings.
right,
We need wings. We can start with I consider Donovan a short wing. That's what he really
Right.
is.
Right. Right.
I consider Donovan a short wing. His was a 6'10" wingspan. That's
Yeah,
incredible for his
yeah,
height.
yeah.
That's incredible for his height. That's why he
Let
dunked.
me ask you this. Let me ask you
Yeah.
this though. Who was the greatest small forward you can remember before Carmelo Anthony? Outside Carmelo Anthony, who's the greatest small forward you remember?
My favorite, obviously, you know, I'm going to say, I'm going to say Dr. J.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
that's bias. And I'm
Right,
a fan, and I'm biased. Yes,
right,
I'm going to
right.
say Dr. J. But who was the best?
As a Nick, who's your favorite Nick small
Nick,
forward though?
Nick small forward. My favorite Nick, Bernard King.
Bernard King, probably
Bernard
right.
King. Bernard
And
King.
did you see that gap in between Bernard King when Bernard King left? When Bernard King fell to the floor,
Yeah.
right, and grabbed his knee, and the Knicks announcer said, Carmelo Anthony for the
That's a
first time.
long gap.
How many years, how many players was occupied that space?
A lot of years. A lot of non-athletic players.
Yeah. Yeah. And now
Other than
Melo's
Gerald
gone.
Wilkins. Gerald Wilkins
Gerald
was
Wilkins
really a
was-
two, though. Gerald
Yeah,
Wilkins was
and
really
he
a
was
two.
super athletic. He was
Yeah,
super
he was really.
athletic, man.
Other than Gerald Wilkins was very athletic, and he played a role on a winning team. You
Right,
know,
right.
Starks also, but they're during the age of the two guard where you had
Right.
Clyde Drexler and Jordan, and so
Right.
there was a limit
And
to which they
Daryl
could
Griffith
and
and
Daryl
Mitch
Griffith
Richmond.
and Mitch Richmond.
Uh, yeah,
And
Latrell
Reggie Miller.
Sprewell and Reggie
And-
Miller. Yeah, man.
So
Yeah,
so
Jim Jackson's.
oh yeah, Ohio State, Jim Jackson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's Malik Sealy's in
Malik
Minnesota.
Sealy.
Yeah,
Yep.
man.
But we haven't had one of those small forwards. We just named a few two guards.
Right.
Kenny Skywalker never had a hand. See, the issue with us is when we did get the athletic player, they often did not have the guard level handle
Right.
or vision,
Right.
which is more common now. The athletes now, because of what happened in Europe kicking our butt and them training their big men to play like guards, caused us to do the same. So
The Tony
now
Kukoc the
Yes.
Deadlift Prince.
Yes. So now our big men are more diverse in their abilities. They were always diverse in their abilities. Now they're allowed to be diverse in their
Right.
abilities.
Right.
Yes.
Because big men back in the day could pass. You couldn't
Yes.
double team a big man back in the day.
No.
You
Try to
couldn't.
double team Kareem. Try to double team Kareem.
Goodness.
He wouldn't just do a hook shot. He also had that hook pass.
Right. And he could throw and they would be on time and on target.
Every time.
And then guys had higher basketball IQs then because they depended less on athleticism and more of the beautiful movement of the game.
Yes.
But then when you realize that, hey man, I don't have to be smart. I don't have to cut around the screen. I could just jump over everybody and dunk. That's where the game went.
Yes. But you can do both.
Yeah.
That's when you're talking about somebody special.
Yep.
When you can do both.
That is when you're talking about David Thompson
Yes.
level talent. Yeah,
Yes.
a guy 6'4"
Yes.
with a 50-inch
The
vertical.
inch vertical. Yes.
But that's the craziest thing. You're a guy 6'4" with a 50-inch
50-inch vertical. Yes.
People nowadays they can't even comprehend
There's-
what that is.
I follow all sorts of basketball, including the dunkers. There's a young guy named Isaiah Rivera. He just did 50 inches. There's also a kid out
Wow.
of Texas who's 6'10", a Nigerian brother,
Right.
Keodichi, and he did 50 inches. He did 40-something flat. You know the flat height, the flat jump?
yeah.
He did 40-something inches flat.
How old is he? Is he a high school kid or older?
No,
guy?
he's a college kid. He goes to Texas. Not Texas El Paso, Texas San Antonio. One of those smaller Texas schools. I'll look it up and I'll tell you. I'll tell you. His name is Keodichi, and I cannot pronounce his last name. He's a very long and multisyllabic last name that I can't remember. But his first name is Keodichi, and he's like 6'10". He will remind you of Giannis but his vertical, he's literally touching the top of the backboard.
Wow.
He's
So
hitting his head
he
on the
can jump
rim.
higher than he can jump higher than Jericho Sims
Yes.
because Obi Toppin can jump,
Yes.
but Jericho Sims can jump right.
He regularly hitting his head have his head near the rim. On second jumps, his head is near the rim.
Wow, wow, wow.
Sims is growing in dexterity, which I like. I like to see that this summer league. That was my takeaway. One of my takeaways from the summer league was that he's growing in aggressiveness because there's a apprehensiveness because he was new.
Right.
He's new to that level of offensive responsibility.
So he's got to be disciplined. He's got to be
Yes.
very disciplined because there's
Yes.
a lot of things he doesn't know yet.
Yes, yes, and he seems to be growing in those areas. He's somebody needs. Do we have the same big man coach that we had? Actually, he left. He's
Kenny
a coach
Payne
now.
went to Louisville. Yeah.
Went to Louisville.
Right.
This would be a perfect time for him to still be here to
Right.
train up
Jericho Sims.
because that's a ball of clay that has star potential.
Yeah.
If
All right, bro. I'm getting the cue,
me
man.
too, me too, me too,
I'm
me
getting.
too.
I'm getting. Okay. All right.
So I am. This is further and fathering a multicast. We took no breaks. We're gonna have to edit those in at some point.
Right.
But this was an awesome conversation with an awesome man deserving of honor. Much kudos to the Blorange Tears Network, all those involved in making it what it's becoming. And it already is excellent, but it's becoming great. And I'm glad that I have you on.
It was my pleasure to be here.
Yes.
I really enjoy the organic conversations with you,
Yes.
and I also wish you continued success. You mind if I mention the other channel?
Oh,
Mo?
definitely. Yes, please do.
So what I would say is if you guys like conversations like this one, we do a morning show called Vibes and Stuff Live in the morning. And for those that don't know where it is, it's just go to youtube.com/vibes and stuff, and you'll be able to find us there. Subscribe to the channel. If you want to have conversations, I'm going to ask Pastor Jay to come on and rock with us. Maybe 10 to 15 minutes out of his busy schedule, just maybe so that we can expose our audience to you guys, and so maybe we can kind of combine the audiences,
Yes.
bring more membership. You know what I'm saying, to both.
Yes.
Because the conversation we had, it basically falls in line with what we talk about every morning, but we try to do it in an uplifting type of way.
Yes.
Because Lord knows what you listen to in the mornings, it's ridiculous. Nothing really uplifting, nothing empowering.
Yes.
Something is always about what somebody can get from somebody else.
Yes.
And what we're offering is the best version of ourselves to you as you get your day started. So
That's powerful. You don't want to be. I always want to be part of something that's honoring, and that's what it is. It's honoring.
Right.
Yes. So I'm going to close real quick. Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for this incredible conversation. I pray that those who listen to it were blessed by it, inspired by it, that they heard the power of quality questions, that they heard the power of hindsight, foresight, and insight, that they heard the power of being patient and kind and wise and having the long view of planting seeds and waiting and watering until you get the sweet fruit with seed in it. I ask that you bless every man, woman, and child that hears this, but especially bless the free family. Hallelujah. Bless the freedom of the free family. May they continue on and bless their generations, as there's already a man in place that has a generational mindset. You said a good man leaves an inheritance to his children and his children's children. I ask that you bless the free family for generations to come. In the matchless name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Amen and amen. Right. Awesome time with you. Oh, I can't wait to do it again. I don't want to be presumptuous, but I definitely, this is a conversation that needs to continue. And yes.
And all we have to do is work out the scheduling. That's all.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
you not get tugged in a lot of different directions. So I'm often having the same conversation. Well, I'm on with Pastor Jay right now. I can't do it. And so you know what I mean. Like I'm
Yes.
looking at the phone. People are like, "Where are you?" You know what I mean. So
So I'm very humbled and thankful to have you on, and look forward to
the
more
same.
incredible conversations with you. All
Appreciate
right.
you, man.
Appreciate you. Love you to life. I always
Yes,
say that.
sir. That's
Yes.
the same. Definitely love you to
Yeah.
life, brother.
Yes,
And keep
sir.
on keeping on.
Awesome. 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 Until next time, be excited to be alive. This is Furthering Fathering, where fatherhood is elevated, families are empowered, and communities are transformed by 5 core principles: honor, encouragement, accountability, reconciliation, and training, forming the word heart. Speak to the heart. Speak from the heart. Speak love. Be excited to be alive and have a great, great day. Love you to life. Peace.